Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Dan Helly from NFL Network. Probably the only one up here who actually does need a name tag. This is the draft day press conference, and before we meet the stars, let's take a peek at what this movie's all about.
Football season is officially over. But on April 11th...
This is the NFL Draft.
We talk football?
We can always talk football.
Be the first...
This city deserves a championship.
...to see how it all begins.
Texans thinking of making a move?
I'm all ears. Let's talk.
Who you picking?
You want 6? Make a deal.
It's go time, boss.
Sonny, are we trading 6?
Kevin Costner, Jennifer Garner.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I am. Haven't I proved that already?
Draft Day.
I love this job.
Rated PG-13, April 11th.
I just watched the whole thing last week for the first time, and it's really good. It kind of pulls the curtain on the war room of Draft Day. It's a very interesting movie. It's the first football movie that's ever been made in conjunction with the NFL, and you see a lot of NFL characters in there, like a John Gruden, like a Rich Eisen, Mel Kiper, Chris Berman, Deion Sanders. They make appearances. Arian Foster did a very good job in this film. For a current NFL player, you could not tell that he did not have an acting background. Right now, I'd like to introduce the director and the actors of Draft Day. We'll start with the director, Ivan Riteman. Round of applause, please, for Mr. Riteman. One of the most successful directors of our time. The hits Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Legal Eagles, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, Dave, and No Strings Attached among his pieces of work. Terry Crews, who told me a short time ago that he played in 1995 for the Washington Redskins. An NFL vet. He co-stars in TV hits Brooklyn 99 and in films ranging from The Expendables to The Longest Yard. You're upstaging me with your pecs. Good gracious. Chadwick Boseman. Breakout star from the Jackie Robinson film 42. He's looking slender and svelte after having to gain, what, 35 pounds for the role? For this one? Yeah, something like that. Denis Leary. Round of applause, please. He plays the coach of the Cleveland Browns in the movie, and he was very convincing. The star of Rescue Me and films including the Amazing Spider-Man series. And Jennifer Garner. I have to admit, this is the only part of the movie that wasn't believable. Salary capologists do not look like Jennifer Garner in the NFL. They do. I stand corrected.
I'm so sorry, but I have to correct you, even though you're being nice.
And Kevin Costner, the star of the film. He's the general manager of the Cleveland Browns in the movie, and I told him, being a Washington, D.C. guy, he almost made me want to root for the Cleveland Browns just a little bit. He was very convincing. I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we're going to open up to questions from the audience. We're going to start with Kevin. And Kevin, this is your first football film. What took so long?
Well, you know, I didn't know I was going to make the other ones either. So I actually, you know, made Field of Dreams and Bull Durham back-to-back, which wasn't a exactly smart career move when everybody thought baseball was box office poison. But I like the idea of playing football, and I think the window has just about closed on me being a player in in one of those games, unless it's just something that has to happen. So when Ivan came to me, I was really happy. I mean, I wouldn't have been in it if I didn't think it had a chance to be great. As much as I would like to have been in a football movie, I like football, and I think you guys like football, women like football too much to make one that doesn't make sense, that takes a step backwards. And this took its place right along for me, you know, for Love of the Game, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams. I felt that Draft Day had a chance to be classic, and I was really happy seeing the movie because I know how much we all really care about our game. and it does too.
One of the things that made the movie so believable was the fact that there were real jerseys, there were real teams that we all recognized and rooted for. How did that partnership, Ivan, come about with the NFL?
I got the script of Draft Day I was very lucky. I got to read this when it first sort of arrived. And I loved it. I read it in the middle of the night, and I said, oh, man, this is really an amazing script, except it really can only be made if we get the National Football League involved. It wasn't one of those movies where you sort of made up the names of the teams and the players and everything, and it had to live in a real world. And you know, we sent the script to the NFL, and the good news is they liked it as much as we all did. And I think after some considerable negotiations, they said, let's go do this. It'll be good for everybody.
We're an easy group to negotiate with. I don't know what you mean by that. You filmed at the draft, the live draft, as it was going on. I'm assuming that presented some issues. What was that like?
Yeah, there's no way to recreate what happens at Radio City Hall, you know, those 2 or 3 days of the draft. And we knew we had to get some of our crew there and shoot some of it. And they were extraordinary. You know, they gave us cars to arrive at the red carpet. I had my own monitors and my own crew within the auditorium. We asked all 32 team reps at the tables if they would wear the same thing they wore the first night during the afternoon of the second day, so that we could sort of keep our continuity going. And every team complied. It was really a wonderful combination of people who just wanted to get it right, and from the National Football League to all 32 teams.
Jennifer, how did you prepare for your role?
Well, I play the Allie, and she is the head of the salary cap. So.
Wasn't coming up or something.
You guys have been shooting a lot of boys, haven't you? You're just glad to see a chick walk in the room. Well. So the thing that I love about Allie is that as the head of the salary cap, she has to have, she has to be a lawyer, she has to have the business mind, she has to have the football mind, and she's someone who, worked her way up from an intern just because she loved the game so much. So in our case, I was incredibly lucky. We all just jumped on you when you said that somebody who's a capologist couldn't look like me, because Megan Rogers of the Cleveland Browns is the prettiest woman in any room, and she's the smartest woman in any room, and she does not suffer fools for a second, but she does it all with lipstick and a smile. And so I just basically copied her. I haunted her. I went and took pictures of her desk, and then she would hunt me down and say, "Those are confidential. Everything's confidential." And I would say, "I don't care what it says. I just want my character's desk to look like yours with the same Post-its." And so I just bugged her, and she was very patient with me.
Denis, you were the head coach. You butted heads with your general manager a little bit, which happens sometimes in the NFL. I'll ask you the same question. How did you go about preparing for your role?
This is no bullshit. I am a huge sports fan. I'm a huge fan of sports movies. I'm a huge fan of Westerns, which pretty much goes without saying. I'm a huge Costner fan. While we were doing Rescue Me, I can't remember what season it was, we actually did a run about Kevin Costner that lasted for about 3 episodes, where the women and the men, were discussing Costner. So when Ivan called me and he said Costner football movie, I was basically, in my head, I was like, I'm in. I don't care if this thing sucks, I'm doing it. I just wanted to be in a Costner movie. I really did. I wanted to be in a sports movie with Costner. You know what I mean? I've worked with Hoffman, De Niro in the same movie. I did a Clint Eastwood movie that nobody saw, but I don't give a fuck. And so somebody calls you and says, "Hey, we're doing a Costner movie." I was like, I don't care if it's a Western or, the ultimate would be a sports Western with Costner, which would be like the Abner Doubleday story. But, and then I read it. I have to tell you that the script, which Ivan has mentioned, and these guys will, the script, it was really, really unbelievably well written. In the draft that I read, from the get-go, I was like, not only am I in a Costner movie, but it's a really good script, so now we have to make sure we don't fuck it up. And it was fortunate for us not only to have Ivan at the helm, but the Browns people, when we were there, we went to that training facility, and I think they were all like, oh, the movie star people are coming, and they didn't understand we were just going to suck the life out of them in terms of information. We took over. You know, the coach was there, and Jennifer grabbed her girl, and we're all like looking at their offices, their shoes, their hair, and they were all, after a while, they were like, okay, we're done, right? But it was really great. It was really great.
Colorful commentary. It was good. Chadwick, you've been the baseball movie. 42 was excellent. And now you've been in a football movie.
Second.
It's
my second.
Your second one.
Yeah.
Did you play both sports growing up? Do you have a favorite?
I was more of a basketball player, point guard. I played a little football and a little like little league baseball, but I was more on the hardwood.
Okay. Terry, you did play football in the league. As a former player, how has the draft changed over the years?
Well, it's funny because I was drafted in 1991 in the 11th round. You know, that's a long time ago. It was so bad that, you know, I thought the draft was over, and then I got a call and to let me know I was drafted. But I was Johnny Hustle, man. I actually made the practice squad once I went through camp and got on the roster and literally played on 6 teams in 7 years, even in the NFL Europe and the whole thing. And, you know, I have to say, the NFL got me ready for entertainment because it's sometimes you get knocked out cold and you got to get back up. So, but the difference now, I see, you know, they know, you know, with it only going to like 7 rounds, they know exactly what they want, and they know exactly, you know, that the free agents have a bigger shot now. Because before, you were kind of like a free agent. You were way at the end. But now, free agency, you know, no matter what, anything can happen, and from anywhere. And I think it's guys have a better shot now.
Ivan, the commissioner, made a cameo. How did he do?
He's a really good actor. I think it was Denis who said, I'm going to introduce you to my agent so you can do more work. Really, I just want to thank him and the NFL for, you know, for allowing us to, well, look, those are very busy 3 days for him, and there he was, Saturday morning, reading our picks, and it was like this amazing sort of rush for all of us to sort of see the movie really coming alive. And it was the first few days of shooting. We had just sort of come in and working 15 hours each day, those 3 days of the days at Radio City.
We're going to get a favorite team from all of them, then we're going to open it up for questions. But first, I want you guys to watch the 30-second spot that's going to air on Super Bowl Sunday.
This Sunday is the last game of the season. But on April 11th...
This is the NFL Draft.
We talk football?
We can always talk football.
Be the first
This city deserves a championship.
to see how it all begins.
Texans thinking of making a move?
I'm all ears. Let's talk.
Who you picking? You want 6?
Make a deal.
It's go time, boss.
Sonny, are we trading 6?
Kevin Costner, Jennifer Garner.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I am. Haven't I proved that already?
Draft Day.
I love this job.
Rated PG-13, April 11th.
Okay, favorite teams. Ivan, let's start with you.
I got to say Seattle. I mean,
Really?
I really dug them all year. And I know John Nordstrom, who used to own the team. He lives up in Montecito, so he's talked me into it pretty hard.
Good team to root for this year.
Yeah.
Dennis?
You mean a Super Bowl pick?
Just favorite NFL team, but if you'd like a pick, I'm sure the audience
I
will.
want it to snow 17 inches and rain on top of it like a motherfucker. I believe in old-fashioned football where the champion is the team that fucking lives through a death experience. That's what I want. I think we should have a dome stadium that has 4 different quarters of 4 different kinds of weather every year for the Super Bowl. That's like the championship team. So I'm rooting for a gigantic storm and then see who survives on Sunday. That's what I'm rooting for.
Jen, favorite team and
I mean, I just like the Patriots.
any reason in particular?
I know. Take it. Go ahead. Boo me. I don't care. I like watching Tom Brady. I think not just because he's handsome. I get handsome. I understand handsome. But he's a fine leader. He's a great quarterback. And I like that team. I'm not going to apologize for it.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Look, I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't know who's going to win. I watch it all year. I see everybody ask right up to the last second. Okay, now all the opinions are done. Everybody's done. Let's finally watch a game. I don't give a shit who thinks who's going to win, because I don't know. These are two tough guys, and I remember in junior high and high school sometimes the two toughest guys were going to fight. The teachers never knew. It was off campus somewhere, and if it was a real fight, you didn't know who was going to win. And I don't know. I enjoy both these teams. I've watched all the games all year long. And how do I know? And who gives a shit what I think?
That being said, we'll be making predictions tonight on NFL Total Access if you want to watch. Chadwick, go ahead.
Giants fan. We had a rough year. I think.
I saw your trailer. You didn't have a rough year.
Yeah.
Giants had a rough year.
The Giants-
You've had a great year. I've seen the hotels you stayed in. You had a good year. Giants had a rough year.
You know, if you're a fan, you're with them. You know. I think it's going to be tough for the Broncos to deal with the running game and the defense. That's my prediction.
It's a good one. Terry?
I have, after playing 6 teams in 7 years, I have no favorite team. Whoever's paying you is who you are with. So I got a free agent mentality. But I do believe that the Broncos are going to win because, Peyton has the experience. I just think, they're at home. He's got his dad, his Archie Manning. They got his brother Eli. They're tripping over Super Bowl trophies. You know what I mean? So they know what's up. And that's my pick.
Evenly matched teams, defense and offense. If that's happened 5 times in the Super Bowls, 4 out of those 5 times, the defensively stronger team has won.
I know that fact.
I'm rooting for Peyton Manning. I've loved him since Tennessee, but I'm telling you, it's going to be rough for him.
I got to go for experience. That's all. Okay. My money.
Manning's winning Super Bowls, okay? How many trophies does one family need? Let's spread it around. I want Russell Wilson to have the Super Bowl trophy. I'm for the underdog. Yeah, Peyton's got 1. That team has 2. Come on. Spread it around.
Legacy. He's the best in-season quarterback. He needs to cement this for his legacy.
You know what? Your legacy... I'm not going to get into an argument about it.
What is it, Denis?
I think your legacy is... He's got his legacy. I think your legacy is your kids, right? So it's not your trophies, right?
Oh, come on.
Okay, all right? But on top of that, he's already got 1. His brother has 1. I'm sick of it.
His brother has 2. He can't stand it.
You know what?
I can't
that
stand
family
it for
does
him.
not deserve to win another trophy. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm sick of Papa John's commercials. Russell Wilson, baby.
We can keep this going forever. Let's get some questions from the audience. Right here.
The real draft is May 8th. Having gone through this project, does any of you have a real curiosity what the Browns do?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, should I answer? Yeah. After I saw the movie for the first time yesterday, and there's, even though I'm gonna pull for the Giants next season, there's a soft spot, in my heart for the Browns, and I definitely hope they do well next year. And we spent time with them. We spent time with like Joe Hayden, T.J. Ward, all of them. Like we just sort of, you had to be around them. And they were very gracious. So you have to have a soft spot in your heart for them.
We have a couple of microphones, so once I call on you, right here.
Kevin, I wanted to ask you, I think as a sports writer, one of the reasons that Bull Durham resonated so much is that it sort of pulled a screen back and felt a little more real, maybe that, pulled something back that I think people saw. I was wondering if that is in any way what attracted you to this film, because football films haven't always translated to box office success. If that sort of peeling back. And the second question I wanted to ask you about Bull Durham, You know, it's legendary that De Niro doesn't do the "Are you talking to me?" ever since the movie came out. I'm wondering if you've ever recited the "I Believe" speech since the movie came out.
Have I? What about the "I Believe" speech?
Have you ever done it?
You get asked to do a lot of things when people come up to you, and you know, for people's mothers usually. But yeah, I've been asked to say that speech. I only get the softcore pornography part and opening your Christmas presents Christmas morning. There's high fiber, good, you know. I tell you, I think how you can, to love a sports movie, I think there has to be a proper amount of vulgarity in it. And why I say that is that we're romantics about our sport. We're not going to let anybody talk bad about baseball. We're not going to let anybody talk bad about football. We're not going to let anybody talk bad. But we can talk bad about it. And so the players themselves, you know, I was just saying, you know, Crash Davis goes and hits a meaningless record in obscurity because it meant something to him, but he knew it didn't mean something on the big stage. He never made it to the big leagues. But there's a level of poetry that has to go with vulgarity. And I think Sonny loves the game. I think Jennifer's character, Allie, loves the game. And the coach, no matter what, we can cuss our game, but it's our game. And if a movie doesn't have both of those things, then it gets too soft. It's not authentic. And make no mistake, we're a movie, we're not a documentary. But I think Ivan really rode the edge of a movie that can become classic. And I think you have to have, you know, that level of grit, and this movie does in the end. And that's what I loved about it.
Jennifer, way in the back over here. Jennifer, hi. First of all, I'm with you. I'm a Patriots fan, and I'm proud of it. But second of all, I am a sportscaster, so being in the world of sports and being a female, and you have also been drawn to other strong female roles in the past, what did you love the most about this role? And did you learn anything about the strength it takes to survive amongst all the men?
I have a great deal of respect for any woman who will enter the world of little boys, of sports. And no offense, but I mean, if you've been out there, it's like little boy heaven. You have to have absorbed a lot of information to be somebody who works in this world. And the thing that I love about my character is that she's the smartest person in the room a lot of the time. And if she's not, she's definitely the calmest. And I think that is something that women can bring to all kinds of fields, you know, where no matter what, they can be the calmest and have the rightest heads about something.
Pardon my laryngitis, I'm sorry, but Ivan do draftees called general managers. I saw the movie last night, and I think Chadman's character called Kevin Costner, and I had never heard that before, so I was wondering how authentic that was.
I actually asked a bunch of guys, and they said it doesn't happen very often because they keep their numbers secret, but it does happen. Probably doesn't happen on the day of the draft, which was, had some dramatic license for us, but there are conversations going on all the time.
Ivan, you grew up in Canada, where there's 12 players on the field and the end zones are bigger than the field. What teams did you follow as a kid, and did you follow the NFL growing up?
I grew up in Toronto. I followed the Argonauts to a certain extent, and really I was a big, Maple Leaf fan. That was the days of Johnny Bauer and Mahovlich, and really I didn't get into the NFL until I moved here about 30 years ago, and particularly when I moved to the Santa Barbara area, where we have this group of 20 guys who meet every Sunday morning during the football season and bet on the game. We have breakfast, and then we bet on the game, and we keep this book inside ourselves for the full season, and we give trophies and do ridiculous things. And one of the wonderful things about betting on a game is that you really start to focus. It's even more serious, and I really, got hooked on this extraordinary sport.
Gracie Barr with Sports Illustrated Kids over here. Jennifer, what was it like, or what was the most fun part about being in this little boy's world and hanging out with all these guys?
Oh, it was heaven, actually. I've loved football since I was in the marching band all of junior high and high school, and was the water girl for my high school's team. But being able to just walk into the practice field, the indoor practice field, and watch these guys hustle from the snap of the ball till they complete the play and hustle back and do it again. That was a real thrill. And getting to talk to these huge guys and watching guys drive in, they've driven all night, they sign their contracts, they go out and practice for a day, and that night you see them walking out and they're driving back home to their moms or wherever, and they've been let go already. I mean, all of that drama was really, it was exciting and thrilling to be a part of.
Hey, you guys. Mansardo from Sports Talk, Florida. For those people who have been there, what's the difference between Super Bowl week and Hall H and Comic-Con?
Yeah, I've been in both. And I'm not in the Super Bowl, but I know when I was playing in the NFL, Super Bowl week it's in sports and entertainment, it's really the same. It's really, I mean, there's so much at stake for everyone involved. And that's pretty much my best way to put it.
Any more questions? Guys, go ahead, Kevin.
Can I get that for my mom? She's gonna want that. I just know.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think that non-football fans will be interested in this movie because they're, after screening it myself, it's a good movie. It's not just a good football movie. Jennifer, what do you think?
It just isn't exclusive to the people who understand the world. I think Field of Dreams opened the door for, it's not just a man's movie, a boy wanting to play catch with his dad, things gone unspoken. I think a movie's requirement that it has to work. And I think there's a good girl-boy element. There has to be the relationship that Denis and I have. And for people who don't know sports, when you actually watch what Chadwick does at the end of the movie, there's a lot of athletic arrogance that comes with a person who's going to be the #1 pick. You don't get there by mistake. You have to have the physical tools. But what's good about the movie is it sets up his history. He's taken care of, his grandmother has raised him. He's now taking care of her. He takes care of kids. And whatever arrogance he has, being clearly in his own mind, one of the better players in the country, when he's absolutely selected, it changes his life. And while the whole room is going crazy, Chadwick's character weeps, just weeps. And so that is something that anybody can understand, having their dream come true. And that's why this movie crosses over.
We've shown the film. Obviously, you test movies when you make them, see how they work, see if people understand them, if you've made mistakes that need to be corrected. And then you do a survey at the end of it. And the great news for us is that, in fact, people who knew nothing about football scored the movie virtually the same as people who knew a lot about football, and it was very high. And because finally, this is an emotional film. It's, yes, there's funny things in it, and there's lots of cool stuff about football, and there's this wonderful behind-the-scenes world that we never get to see, really, particularly about the draft. And most importantly, it's a story of, these rookies, these potential draftees that are coming in, who've spent their entire lives trying to be football players, somehow dreaming that one day they're going to get to play in the NFL, and most of them don't. And the tension that's put on them, the pressure, and the emotionality of that moment is something that we can all understand.
I'm curious if you guys learned anything that you didn't already know. I haven't shared some of it. Denis, is there a colorful anecdote you can share with us, that something you learned maybe in Cleveland, or?
Oh boy, something I learned in Cleveland.
They said colorful.
Yeah, colorful. Yeah.
Let him cook it up. Hang on.
I gotta admit, I kind of spaced out for a second, and I was, huh?
No.
Oh, no, we could tell that story. Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, we could tell that story. In the script, there's, in the movie, do you want me to tell that? Like, is it giving anything away if I say that? No. Oh, okay. In the script, there was a plant of some money in a playbook. And it's part of the plot of the movie, if you haven't seen it, where they can tell whether a draft pick or potential draft pick has actually read the playbook by virtue of the fact that he would find the money and say, hey, there was, you know, $100 in the back page or the last page or somewhere in that playbook. And so when I was doing I think it's a great device that is used to discover who's actually paying attention and who's not. I gave the script to Bill Belichick, long story short, because I was using him as a research touchstone for the coach's part before we started shooting. And he came back and he had some notes about this is great, this is real, this would never happen, this, you know, it's stuff that you would expect. But the one thing he said was, who the fuck came up with that $100 playbook thing? And I said, I don't know, it was in the script, one of the guys wrote it. He's like, that's my thing, I used to do that. And I was like, of course you did, you know what I mean? But so it was, you know, these guys really did their research, these writers, man. They really, when we read the script, I know for me especially, when I read it, I felt like, okay, this feels like there's a lot of real football stuff here. And when I checked with Belichick, there was very little that he didn't find that rang true or that he didn't find had been done or an envelope might have been able to be pushed here and there, but most of the stuff was played very real, you know?
I heard that Florida State screened the movie the night before the national championship game. Is that true?
Thank God they won. Yeah, Jimbo Fisher actually asked if they could show it to the team as their team activity on the Saturday night before the game. So it was a little more than the night before. And and they loved the film. The kids really watched it with rapt attention. And the wonderful thing for me was we got a call from him after the game, after the movie, excuse me, and he said, you know, what's great about the film is that it's really about character and that character counts, that it's not just the skill, that the NFL really is looking, and I get calls, he said, from all the NFL coaches to find out about my various kids' character and what they're really like, and that lesson sort of really fell hard on all the sort of kids who watch it. And so,
Chadwick, what is it like to work with these guys? Did Denis keep everything light on set like he is up here all the time? I mean, you're up here with some legendary figures.
Well, the majority of my scenes were with Kevin. So, but Denis kept it light in the hotel. We didn't work out together, but we worked out near each other in the hotel. And he was, just to let you know, the man is in amazing shape. Amazing shape. Like, he worked out like 2 times that day. Like, he came and went. So he just kept it light. He keeps it energetic all the time. Kevin was very gracious and leads by example and teaches by example. And, you know, it just made it real easy for me. And one of the things that was important for me, because a lot of our scenes are phone conversations, I wanted to actually do those scenes with him and not have somebody else read them. And it was a sticking point for me. I didn't want to do the film if I wasn't going to actually be talking to him. And he came in, what was it, like 6 in the morning to read off camera with me while we were on the phone. And I just thought, like, he's just a class act because he did that. There's a lot of people that wouldn't have done it, that wouldn't have gotten up early to do it. So it was definitely an enjoyable experience.
Terry, what was it like working with Arian Foster? I mentioned earlier what a good job he did.
No, I was super impressed. I thought, you know, I wanted to be the best actor that ever came out of the NFL, and I was like, dang, we got another one. I was. Arian was an amazing actor, an amazing talent. And it's a lot of talent in the NFL. I'm telling you, in my time in the locker room, there were comedians, there were actors, there were writers, there were artists. And I tell all these NFL players right now that the end of your career is the beginning of your life. And that's for real. And I tell them that's one reason I come to the Super Bowl, is to tell all the players that. And it's such a small part of a big life.
Well said.
I just have a question. Hampton Stevens from The Atlantic. I would bet 99% of the people in this room have had a draft playing fantasy football. And it's about as close as we can come. And I just wonder, like, do any of you have any steals you're especially proud of? Who plays fantasy football? Who's won? That kind of stuff? Nothing?
Our producer, Allie Bell, are you here? Allie Bell is a champion of fantasy football player.
Who we talk to at the right point.
I played fantasy football in the a long time ago, and I would kill for it, and I would get the USA Today. I had a subscription just because they had the best stats, and I remember scooping Jerome Bettis out from someone. Ain't no head of lettuce. So that's I don't remember, you know, but yes, I love fantasy football. I wish I still had time to play it.
Any more?
How many of you live in Los Angeles, the only major market without a National Football League franchise? Yeah, you got a few bucks.
Do that.
You own an NFL team.
I tried to do that once, and I got into divorce, and so my ability to contribute was cut in half. But I did. I mean, I can't think of any little boy game better than to own a team. I think sometimes there's a disconnect, honestly, and you guys have treated us very respectfully, but like sports guys, sports announcers, sports whatever, know sports, and you sometimes think, oh, what do actors, what do they really know about, unless they're just told. But the truth is, I wasn't born an actor, and I started watching in the 60s and CBS games and listening to Al DeRogatis and Charlie Jones and all these different announcers and Buck and love their voices and know these games. And when I watch these films, in slow motion and they're being narrated and we still cry watching old films. I saw those games live, and, there is no disconnect. I think the people up here really, really love football, and we watch it, religiously, and it's not a part-time thing for us. I wouldn't be caught dead talking about something I didn't know. So there's a big mutual interest here, back and forth, and this game was just our way to offer up in our own way that keeps the beat going for how fun Sundays have become. I've never seen the league so competitive in my life. The new quarterbacks that are coming in are debunking the theories that you got to be in this game for 4 years. They're making it hard on everybody else, these guys, and that's what makes this league and makes this this sport really so great.
Martin Derler from the Oberösterreichischen Nachrichten in Austria. Mr. Costner, about a year ago, I saw you singing, performing at the World Championships of Ski in Schladming, Austria. Now, as you're obviously more into football, well, sorry for that.
Went under the radar, but thanks for blowing that.
Well, when do we see you perform at the halftime show of Superbowl?
Yeah. Well, we put out a big volume of music. I got to tell you, we play loud, so we could fill the stadium. But I think the guys that, it's been going to a lot of legendary performers and people that you actually kind of see as going down that road, Mars. And so we like to play loud and we like to play live. I don't think we're going to get that invite. I was hoping for the Bud Bowl, It was fun.
See a Radio Minneapolis here. What made you decide on Cleveland for the franchise, and how many other franchises were in consideration before settling on the Browns for the movie?
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
How many other organizations were under consideration to shoot the movie as opposed to the Cleveland Browns?
I think it's fairly well known that the screenplay was originally written with the Bills. In fact, Rajiv Joseph, one of the writers, is from Cleveland and always wanted to write it about Cleveland. And they thought, well, it's too close to me. I can't write only about my brother. I'm going to just... So they said it, and they both have similar unfortunate histories. And they're both Rust Belt towns with a real rabid fan base. They're smaller markets, who really, really love their teams, and both teams have had tragedies, you know, and finally it came down to money. I met with both organizations. Both organizations were wonderful to me in terms of wanting us there, and both liked the script a lot and wanted to be part of it. But the tax rebates that Ohio offers is spectacularly better than what the New York State did. And we were on a very tight budget because there's a lot of fear that maybe this film, I think there's a lot of optimism of how well it will do here, and I think there's some fear about how well it will do outside of, you know, North America. We'd like to think it's going to do very well, but it did mean that we would have to work for a relatively small budget. So every $1 million back meant a lot to us.
Any more questions?
Jeff Ellis, Sky Sports. Curious on the international distribution. How you will be trying to sell this story, which is a fantastic story. How you'll be trying to sell that to an international audience.
Well, I think it's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about quality and stories that, even if you know nothing about the game, certainly things like The Blind Side and Every Given Sunday did extraordinarily well outside of this country, and it's because you get involved in the story. And I think we explain enough about the mechanics of the draft in the natural progression of the story that anyone can follow it. And so that's our hope. I hope we do really well, that the reviews are good, all that kind of stuff. These are very well-known actors all over the world. Hopefully that will help as well. And we're really counting on the quality of the film.
Hi, Aaron Fincher's with us, CSN. A lot of people in this room have either watched the draft for 2 or 3 days, either as a fan or as a professional. Have any of you ever sat through the draft as a fan and watched and lived or died with your team's pick?
Yeah.
Oh, you have better things to do? Is that what you were saying?
Well, we've watched it on television.
Yeah, we watch it on television. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I thought what was really interesting is what happens behind the scenes. You know, most people think it's this great, wonderful television show. You know, that's very slow most of the time, and it's. But what's really amazing, what's going on in 32 war rooms across the country, and you know, some teams get very emotional. Things happen. They only have 10 minutes. The top two, the picks that they had for a certain period are now gone, and they have to make. Some teams are very disciplined. This is one of the things that was explained to me, and no matter what, they're going by what what their lineup is, and to fulfill their needs for that year, and some just sort of get carried away by the opportunity of something, and that's fascinating, and I think it's what's interested football fans in this film who've seen it so far is the art of negotiation that takes place throughout the film, and all the sort of machinations of what happens.
Right here.
Forgive the Bull Durham, but I'm fascinated by that movie in particular. He wants to make a baseball western. I'm curious if you would ever consider bringing Crash back as a big league manager.
Well, the same thing that, you know, you only get so many shots at movies, and the same thing that has, you know, driven me in my career. You know, I haven't made a sequel. I'd like to, because you really back the truck up and tell them how much you want, you know. So that's a good business. It's a really good business. 4 of those things, you know, 5 of the other. Yeah, Ron Shelton's a good enough writer, but he never wrote that. And I've had people write some sequels to some of the other movies, and I just said, they're not as good as that first one. And yeah, but it doesn't matter. People come in, it doesn't matter, Kevin. It doesn't matter. And I go, really? And it does matter. And so I like. Nobody's accused me of not liking long stories, you know. So I make them really long. Sometimes they're like 2 movies. So it's really about the writing for me, because I think people still care about the theatrical experience. And I think people are going to care about this movie. I think they're going to own it, because it really, Draft Day, drills down, and I don't care if it ever plays in Europe. I think it drills down. It's a great American movie. That's the way I go, you know, and if it's really vulgar, I don't care if it plays on a plane either. Keep it what it is. And this is our story. And why we go crazy on Sunday is why we go crazy. And the dreams that happen on that 3-day is really fun. And this movie has found a way to encapsulate all of it.
Sir, if you could just wait for the microphone, it's right behind you there.
This question should be mic'd. Actually, this is right for Ivan. There was some creative license taken during the beginning of the draft process, the actual NFL draft, as you staged it. The commissioner comes to the podium and welcomes everyone to the 2014 NFL draft to enthusiastic applause in your film. The laughter that you're hearing is that my colleagues who've been to many NFL drafts and acknowledge that he is booed vociferously from the peanut gallery, and we're wondering if the league asked or if you just decided creatively how that decision was made creatively.
Honest to God, they never said anything about the booing or the applause. And I certainly heard enough booing on that night, particularly from Jets fans in the 2013 draft. We actually recorded live for some of that stuff and have the boos, but yes, you're right. We did add more applause because I think it would have been somewhat confusing for people who don't know anything about the draft and the history, the humorous history of that.
Any more questions?
Over here. Hey, Denis, Paul Sylvie, King TV in Seattle. As a guy who clearly speaks his mind, how much do you appreciate a guy like Richard Sherman and some of these other guys who are a little bit more boisterous about their comments and in this mundane world sometimes where the comments are always the same after and before games?
I'm old school. Ostensibly, I like Barry Sanders, like act like you've been there before, but those days seem to be long gone. I like stuff like that, man. As a sports fan, you know, I like when guys, you can talk trash and you can back it up. I think you're fine. Personally, I would not say anything about Peyton Manning's passes before the Super Bowl. I would try to stay away from the guy, you know, pissing off a guy like that. But I find it very entertaining. I mean, I think that kid's a smart kid. And it's entertaining during Super Bowl week to have people saying funny stuff. But I would have stayed away from saying ducks about Peyton's passes. And I think, you know, I hope he doesn't pay for it on Sunday.
Kevin, hello. Your character is under incredible tension for 24 hours, besides the personal issues that he's dealing with. Professionally, did you ever ask, is this really this bad for 24 hours, the day of the draft, the tension?
No. Listen, you know, he wakes up and he has a problem with his girlfriend. I know none of you ever have. But I do. Lucky guys. You know, and he gets in the car, and he, you know, before he even gets in the car, he turns on the TV, and the radio guys are already down on him. And he gets in the car, and they're down on him. I mean, they want to run him out of town. And there's a scene in a movie that you don't see where he gets to the gas station, and a woman kind of gives him a smile. The first person to give him a smile, then she basically says her and her brother plan to burn his house down if they screw up this draft. So it doesn't stop for him. His mother hates what he's doing. And so he is under enormous pressure. So no, I can feel that. They start planning for the draft right after this one's over. And I know what it's like to focus that way. So I didn't find that unbelievable at all. It was something that drew me to it. It was very well drawn.
Any more questions? How about a round of applause for
Sorry.